Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com, and we're here today to review the Q. Okay, the new Arduino Q. We're going to give it a rundown today, let you know what our first impressions were. But to start with, I will need you to pour yourself a nice tall glass of ice cold coffee. That would be straight up black coffee poured over ice, no sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. And beside your coffee, I'm going to need you to buckle up because this is going to be a wild ride today, okay? Now, initially, I was planning on calling this video something like, what am I going to do with the Q? Okay, so like I've got the Arduino Q, I play around with it a little bit, then I kind of tell you where I see things going as far as the work I would like to do and things that I might like to do on the channel. But after playing around with it a little bit, I thought a better title for today's talk would be the Arduino Q, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, let me tell you what my goal is with this review. My goal is to be very, very honest and at the same time very, very fair. Okay, I want to be honest in what I say, but I also want to really bend over backwards and be fair in what I say. And therefore, I'm going to talk about the good, I'm going to talk about the bad, and then I'm going to talk about the ugly. Does that sound good? Okay, I hope it does. Well, me being the optimist, I always like to start with the good. And so let's jump over here and let's jump right in and take a look at the Q. Let me get out of your way. You can see that we have it plugged in and it's running. And so what exactly is the Q? The simplest way that I would describe it is one board that has a microprocessor and a microcontroller. Okay, I guess let me try to say it more simply. Like if I was going to say it as simple as I possibly could, imagine that you had one board that had a Linux machine on it, about like a Raspberry Pi 3 or maybe the latest Raspberry Pi Zero, something about like that. Not a Pi 5, but also not a BeagleBone Black or something like that. So you're right there in sort of a sweet spot of being able to do some really interesting things. And then in addition to that, we have an Arduino microcontroller. Okay, so on one board, we have a Linux machine and we have an Arduino machine. For you guys that want a little technical lowdown on it, the microprocessor, the MPU, is the Qualcomm Dragonwing QRB2210. It's a powerful quad-core ARM Cortex A53 SoC running up to 2 gigahertz, and we could go blah 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 on through the specs. But basically, think of that microprocessor as something about like a Raspberry Pi 3. Then the microcontroller, that is the Arduino side. It's an STM Microelectronics STM32U585, and basically it behaves just like an Arduino. Okay, so that's a quick overview of what that is. And now let me start talking about the good. The first thing that I want to say about the good is, bottom line is, this is the board, this hardware is the board that I have been dreaming of for at least 10 years. And let me kind of run down why I've been dreaming of something like this. And I'm sure you guys with your own stories have probably run into something very similar. And what I was doing starting, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, I started a program where we were developing electronics packages, and then we were sending them to the edge of space, and then we were collecting data, and then we were coming back to the ground. And basically, on our first flights, what we were doing is we had an Arduino, we had sensors tied to the Arduino, then we took a GoPro camera and strapped it to our instrument package, and then we had sort of a standalone GPS on it. So what you would do is you would launch this thing. We would get up to 110, 120, even over 135,000 feet. And with that, you're above the Earth's atmosphere. We had the GoPro camera on there. You could take pictures. We could see the curvature of the Earth. We could see this thin blue line, which was the atmosphere down below us. And then we could just see the blackness and darkness of space. So that was really exciting. And we did it all with the Arduino and then just a GoPro camera. Well, after a couple of launches like that, we started thinking, man, it would really be neat to do some extra stuff. Like instead of the GoPro, wouldn't it be neat if we could have our single board computer be doing the video itself? And then also, wouldn't it be neat if we could have live telemetry back to our ground station where we're taking video in space and then we're beaming it back live, and all that data that's being taken, it would be beamed back live. So back at mission control, we could be seeing all of our data coming from our sensors, all the status of our actuators, and then we could be getting a live video stream back. Okay, at that point, as much as we love the Arduino just could not carry that workload, right? You're just not going to do video with Arduino. And so as a result of that, we moved to the Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi could do video. It had the GPIO pin, so it could interact with the sensors and actuators. And then it had network capabilities, so you could actually connect to your radio. And we were doing Ethernet over. It's a really strange thing. We were doing Ethernet over Wi-Fi ham. So we had a little slice of a hand band up there near 2.4 gigahertz that was legal for us to use, but dead quiet because there's no equipment there. And then what we were using is that dead quiet channel to beam the live video and telemetry back to the Earth. So it's really, really cool. Okay. But this was the problem that we ran into with the Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi is very easy for it to become disturbed and kind of glitch. And so as we were going up, and you're going through the jet stream and the wind is blowing at 170 and 180 miles per hour, and then at the same time your temperature is dropping to 50 below zero, and this thing is moving all around, getting slung around, there's a lot that can cause a Pi to kind of glitch out. And the thing about a Pi is once it glitches out, then it's kind of like down for the count. There's not like an easy reboot and reconfigure itself type of thing. So we lost a couple of instrument packages because the Pi glitched out on us. And so what did we want? We wanted the rock solid performance of the Arduino. It just works. And if there's a glitch, there's no operating system. When it sees power again, it comes up, it runs the program again. So what we had is we had a Raspberry Pi, a Linux machine running Python, and we had it connected to the Arduino. And what the Arduino would do is the Arduino would do all of your heavy lifting, right, as far as the sensors and actuators go. So anything that was a sensor, anything that was an actuator, we connected to the Arduino. Then that passed over Ethernet, the data to the Pi, and then the Pi had the camera on it, and then the Pi is getting the data from the Arduino, and then the Pi is taking the video and it's beaming all of that live in real time back to Earth. Okay, so that was like a really neat project. And what we were even able to do is we were able to get the Arduino to sense if something had glitched out on the Pi, like maybe the Pi had shut down, or maybe the Pi had a program that stopped running or something wasn't working right. And we actually kind of had a hardware reset where the Arduino would sense that and could kind of bring the Pi back to life. And with that, we had 15 successful missions. And like I say, I think there were 2 of them that we didn't recover. But then what we would do is every launch, we would be doing more and more sophisticated things with the sensors that we had, the data that we were collecting, and the video that we were sending back. And this was a group of high school students who worked with me on this. It was really, really a very, very exciting project. But I digress going down memory lane like that. But what did it come down to? While we were doing that all that time where we had a Raspberry Pi and we had an Arduino, and this is actually the Arduino we sent to space. This probably made 6 or 7 trips to space, a little Arduino Nano. So this is a little bit of a sentimental one to me. This isn't the Pi that went to space. This is a Pi 5, but we had a Pi and we had an Arduino. We connected them together and the magic happened. But you know, all along, it's like I was thinking, man, you got this Pi with all this stuff. Why don't they just put the little chip on it? You know, the MPU. Why don't they put the Arduino chip? And instead of me running cables between these two things, just put them on the same board. And then I would have the board that would do anything that I could possibly want. And I was always sort of a little surprised that somebody didn't do that. I was always thinking, well, why don't the Pi guys, why don't they just put a little, whatever that chip is, whatever that microcontroller, the STM32U585, it's a pretty simple little thing. Why wouldn't you just slap one of those on the Raspberry Pi? Or why would you not take an Arduino and say, hey, let's just put a microprocessor on it? But whoa, I waited 10 years, and then one day I got word that this Arduino Q was coming out, and that was like my dream come true. It's like nirvana. Finally, one board that's going to have that rock solid just work aspect of the Arduino, which will work with the sensors and actuators and has access to this vast array of tens of thousands of libraries. And no matter what you're trying to do, there's someone out there who's already done it on the Arduino. So you have this huge knowledge base, you have this huge user base, and the guys that use Arduino, they're really friendly people. It's kind of like, you know, it's not these kind of ugly software people. It's just like your friendly guys that are sitting there talking shop together, you know, drinking coffee together, that sort of thing. So I love the Arduino user base. I love the Arduino hardware, and I love the Arduino knowledge base. Okay. And so you're going to get all of that over here with the microcontroller. But then at the same time, when you run out of steam just with a microcontroller, you've got your Linux machine over there that can run Python. And it's just like, okay, nirvana. All right, have I talked too much going down memory lane? But I think some of these reviews, they're too much of, you know, bits and bytes and gigs and, you know, mega this and giga that, and not enough like, okay, what does this really mean and what can we do with it? Okay, so the good, this is my dream board. So I got it with great anticipation, opened it up, plugged it in, and then the first thing I wanted to do is just see, old school, does it behave like an Arduino? Old school, does it behave like an Arduino? So we will come over here. Let me see if I can show you this so you can sort of see the Arduino at the same time you see my code. So, okay, we're just gonna, this is probably for many of you the first Arduino program that you ever wrote, our simple little friendly blink program. This is the thing that like changed my life. When I ran this program the first time, it was like, wow, I can do microcontrollers and my life is never going to be the same. So I wrote this, and just seeing that LED blink, it was really quite amazing. Now, this is not a how-to, so I will say there's a few things you have to do. There's a few libraries you have to install. There's some things you have to do to get to this point, but we can talk about that later. Today is just like the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is not a how-to. So you want to come down, make sure that you are connected to the Arduino Q. And then you also see we have something new down here. We have network ports, and look at this. I got a network port. It's actually showing me the IP address. So that's kind of exciting because I'm thinking about the next step I'm going to, because already I can see my IP address. And then you look over here and be sure to come over here and set this to the Arduino Q. And again, to do that, you've got to do some monkey business up here to, you know, reload things and download things and all that. But that part's pretty straightforward, I will say. So now we have the moment of truth. We are going to come over here and we are going to run this thing. And this LED, we want to keep our eyes on this LED here. And so what we are going to do is we have this set to 1,000 milliseconds on, 1,000 milliseconds off. It is looking pretty happy. Looks like it's compiled, but we want to see that it has downloaded. It looks like, man, it looks like that is already working. And then if you look here, 1,000 milliseconds on, off, you know, it's 1 second on, 1 second off, 1 second on, 1 second off, boom. So what have we done here? We have run an Arduino program using all the tools that we are familiar with on the new Arduino Q. So at this point in my mind, everything that I've ever learned about Arduino in 10 years and all of that knowledge base is right here at my fingertips, because if I can blink that LED, then I can do anything. Now, next thing, let's see, can we edit the program? So let's say that we want it on for, let's leave it on for, let's say, 50 milliseconds, and then let's leave it off for 1,000 milliseconds. So let's run that and let's see if we can actually edit it, and, you know, still just making sure everything is copacetic. Okay, there it goes. Now, this is the interesting thing. What did I say? And that blue one is kind of interfering with your ability to see that very well. But I said to stay on for 50 milliseconds and to stay off for a second. And it's kind of like running backwards. It's off for 50 milliseconds and it is on for 1,000 milliseconds. So for some reason, this program is kind of running backwards on this built-in LED. And so, right, we're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, that is not going to go into good, certainly, and it's not going to go into bad, because you know that sooner or later this is going to get sorted out. I mean, I can't imagine I made a mistake on the program, but we're going to kind of call it the ugly, because here's a new board with a lot of new stuff going on, and it seemed like the built-in LED is running backwards, but we're sure that that's going to get sorted out, and so we're not going to put that in the bad category. We will put that in the ugly category. But why am I excited? Every single thing that I've ever learned about Arduino, boom, I can put it here and I can do that. But now, what is the other thing we want to look at? We want to look at the Linux side. We want to look at that microprocessor, that Dragon Wing. So let's see, what is the easiest way to do it. Putty is a little free program that will allow you to SSH into just about anything. I could probably SSH into my coffee maker if I was really honest. And if I remember right, the IP address was 192.168.88.95 for me. And then I think that's all I need. I'm just going to say open here, and boom. Even though this is just a black screen, this is a pretty big deal. And the reason it is a pretty big deal is it doesn't just sit there and blink. It's like it's asking me to log in. So I think I am actually talking to that Dragon Wing. So let's see. We know that the username is preset to Arduino. And then I will put my password in. My sweet Pookie, 123. Okay, and let's try that. Okay. Boom! It's alive. Look at that. All right. So I've got a Linux terminal up here, and I am logged in. And what do I know? Why was I so happy on the Arduino side? Because all the stuff I already know, Arduino. Now over here, I'm in Linux. So right off the bat, just LS. Hey, I've got Arduino apps and I've got Lost and Found. Okay, I don't have all the desktop GUI and home and temp and all that, but I've got some folders here. So let's go down into Arduino apps. So I'm going to do a CD and AR. Guys, this is something that I pounded out in Linux for like 20 years until one day I learned that you just type the first few letters, and if you type tab, it will take you to the right one. And so, man, how much of my life did I waste not knowing that tab would finish the command for you? Okay, there we are, LS, nothing there, but you know, we just booted it, so that shouldn't be surprising. Okay, so I've got Arduino, I've got Linux. I'm really, really excited. Good, good, good. Okay, now Let's see what I can do. Let's see if we can run a Python. So I'm just going to see if I can enter the Python interpreter. So I'm just going to put Python command not found, denied. And you guys are not seeing that as perfectly as you could. And I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I want you to get the full experience by seeing things down here. And that is still not easy for you to see. A more adept YouTuber would have had this already up and working, the windows done already. One more chance. I'm a little picky about this. Okay, there. I think you can see that now. So Python not found. Now I know sometimes it wants you to, Python will run whatever your default installation is, but it might be, let's see if Python 3. Boom! Python shell. Look at that. Okay, so let's say that I got a cord down there I'm running over. Let's say print the classic hello world, like that. Boom, boom, hello world. We've written our first Python command under Linux on the Dragon Wing, All right, so I'm very excited about that. I'm a little scared because I don't know how to get out of the shell. Quit. Ha, got it. You never know if it's quit or exit or control C or whatever, but got lucky that time. Okay, so I'm still in this empty folder, Arduino apps. Let's see if we can run a program. Let's see if we can write a program. So I'm going to do nano, and then I'm just going to do hello.py and denied nano command not found. Nano is just a really simple text editor. So let's just try apt get install. I wonder if I should do sudo. I never know. Let's just do apt get install nano. And you didn't see that because let me get out of your way further. Nano, and let's see what happens. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, apt get install nano. Let's try that. Okay, so it wants me to do sudo. You see, I don't like to do things with sudo unless I have to, because sometimes if you do something with sudo, then anytime you run the program or work with it, it wants you to sudo again. So let's do the sudo, and I'm going to do apt get install nano, like that. And that's a good sign. So what did we say? My sweet Pookie 123, something like that. Okay. There, boom, it's installing. Wow, it's like we're sitting here and we're running that Qualcomm Dragon Wing. So that is pretty exciting. All right, so now let's see if I can do a nano hello.py like that. There we are. And so I'm going to say here print hello world like that. Boom. Okay, and now I'm going to control X, enter, yes, enter. Okay, and now I'm going to Python 3 hello.py and hello world. Boom, look at that. Okay, now you guys might just be saying, well, that's just, you wrote a hello world and you blinked the LED. Yeah, but what did I do? I did it on the same board. Okay, so everything that I ever learned about Linux and Python, I can do here. Everything that I ever learned about Arduino, I can do over here. And now what I have to do is I just have to have these two neighbors, these two partners on the board talk to each other. Okay, now this so far, I've been talking about the good, right? It's my dream board. I can do everything that I wanted to on the Arduino side. Everything I ever learned about Arduino, I can do on the Arduino side. Everything I ever learned or knew about Linux and Python, I can do over on the microprocessor side. And now all I got to do is get them to talk together. Okay, so what I did was I worked on this for 2 weeks, and I was fundamentally here doing the way I think. The way I think is there's Python and Linux, and then sitting over here is Arduino, and get those two things to talk to each other either through like a bridge library that maybe Arduino would provide, or just go back to UART and just do it like you would if you had the Raspberry Pi sitting next to the Arduino, and just do some serial port stuff or do some Ethernet stuff and just do a, do a client server over, over Ethernet, or do a client server over USB, or do a client server over UART. All those different ways over the years that we got the Linux machine to talk to the Arduino, or the PC to talk to the Arduino, or the Macintosh to talk to the Arduino. I couldn't make it work. And like, I'm not a stupid guy, but it's like 2 weeks I couldn't do it. Now, what I understand is that Arduino provided this new thing called the, the app, they call it the App Lab, okay? And you're kind of supposed to go to the App Lab, but it's like, I know Linux, I know PuTTY, I know this. I know Arduino, I know IDE, I know this. So now let's just all work with where all the stuff that I've learned and I've taught you over the last 15 years, let's just use that and now make it all work together. But the thing is, no, you can't do it. Now, if one of you guys was able to make it work, please tell me, because like I say, literally I worked on this thing for 2 weeks, and it almost like, I don't want to like sound paranoid, but it almost seemed like that it's almost like you begin to feel like that they deliberately made it where you couldn't do what I'm trying to do, because it's almost like those UART and that serial connection. It's almost like they hid it or they locked it in some way that I can't get to it, to maybe force me to use the App Lab. Okay. Well, it's like, I don't want to be a grumpy old guy, but there's these things I know, there's these things I know. I want to move on to the project. I don't want to move on. I don't want to learn a completely new framework for the way that I do work. So I tried really, really hard to get this work, and I couldn't get it work. So I gave you a lot of good things about the Q. This is a bad thing. Okay. So, all right, if you're going to be that way, if you're going to force me to use the App Lab, I better, yeah, okay. So let's see. We're going to see if we can open up the App Lab here. Okay. Now, you can see kind of the interesting thing is it pops up with the USB, or it pops up with the network. That's kind of neat. All right. I'm not saying it was easy to get there, but that's kind of, yeah, look at this. Isn't this, this is nice. Okay. So let's look at Blink LED. So we're going to click that. Okay. And then it's like you've got an Arduino. It looks like it's board update error. If problems first, this, I don't think I asked it to update, right? I thought I just opened it up, but okay. All right, this thing, just like I just open it and it tells me that the update failed. And so what I think is, we're not going to call this bad, we're going to call this ugly, because this is like, okay, just everything's new. And show logs. Okay. All right, so now, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to try to kill this. So I'm not seeing a kill button. Let's see if I can kill. Okay, I killed it up there. So let's try again here. Okay, let's connect to the board. Okay, please don't pop that thing up on me again. All right, it looks happy. So let's look at the Blink LED. Dadgummit! Okay, so I did not ask for an update. So contact Arduino support. Please help me. All right, so let's see here. The Arduino flasher tool. Okay, so that is that is, let's see if something will pop up. Arduino. All right, so let's see here. Okay, what is that darn thing called? Okay, so let me kind of pause here. And my thing, I swear, like I just went through this whole thing that I was going to do, everything that I was going to show you. I just did it like for an hour. I went through every single example in my mind. I scripted, I storybooked the thing out, and it was all working perfectly. And well, let me see. Let's just be fair. And let's say I'm going to close this. Okay, I'm going to close that. And then I'm just going to close the Arduino. I'm going to make sure everything is closed. Don't save. Everything is clean and closed. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug this. And then I'm going to plug it back in. I'm going to plug it back in. And then I'm going to come over here. And then I'm going to run the app again. Okay, the app lab. No device found. That's okay. I think it'll find it. I hope it'll find it. Happy little beeping noise. That's probably progress. All right. So there it is right now. I think probably if I waited a few minutes, I would see the network one come up. But we got the USB. Let's go ahead and connect. All right. So let's click this. All right. All right. So at least that's... Darn it, denied. Okay, so guys, I know that you don't want to watch me try to what does it say, flash the new operating system, but again, what you just saw happen, it wasn't planned. And what I will say is this is not bad. This is what we're going to call ugly. I did not ask this thing to update the OS. I just opened the, I opened the app lab, and I'd opened the app lab an hour ago and I'd run all these programs. And now I open the app lab and it thinks that there's a OS image failure of some sort. So let me go away and have a coffee, and let me see if I can get this fixed, and then I'll come back and see if we can get it figured out. Okay, guys, I'm back, and after further review, once it tells you to update the OS, whether you ask for it or not, there's no way around it. It's like you've got to go the whole 9 yards here. And so I finally found this thing. It's like, this is the address where you can get the flasher, and then you can put that in, like you need to open a terminal. Okay, so you open this terminal, and you need to open it as an administrator, and then what you need to do is you need to put that, let's see if we can paste that in like that. Okay, that is the address. And then let's see if that works here. What? Okay, we got to give it like a command. We got to give it a command. So let's see, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do that just from the, all right, guys, let me go away and I will be back in a minute. Okay, now I am back. Finally got it downloaded and figured out, and then also I'll say it comes in as a zip file, so then you got to unpack and all that sort of stuff. But I think I have all of that done. I'm not going to show you because it just seems like bye for a second and I'm gone for 2 hours. But what I will say is this is not a how-to, and so what we are going to try to do is just see if we can give it this command, which is, I wonder if I can, this is not a how-to, so I'm not going to try to change the font. It's /arduino-flasher.cli and then flash latest, and then let's see what happens here. What is that? Okay, let's see. Maybe I didn't unzip it, okay? Maybe I did not unzip that. Okay, I'm doing an extract all there. I thought I'd unzipped it, but maybe it put it in a strange place. All right, let's try it. Okay, I think maybe I got that, but now I need to change directory to Arduino, and that looks like that folder. Okay, now if I run that command that I put a while ago, which was this one, now maybe it'll go. Server error. Okay, so first of all, again, we're talking not bad here, but we're talking ugly. Kind of like the charm of the Arduino was, remember you got your R3, you plugged the USB in, you downloaded one program, and you were up and writing programs. But now to kind of get to the first use of the, kind of like to get like very early on in the App Lab experience, it's forcing me to update something, and in forcing me to update the operating system, it has to be done in the command line in a terminal, which is like going to be way beyond your casual user's comfort level. Now, why was this? Okay, now what did I do wrong here? What did I do wrong? Let me ls and see what's in here. Maybe I didn't put the word in right. Okay. Well, that sure looks like a... Do you think I need exe on there? Maybe it wants the exe. Okay, let's try that. What? Okay, let's pause this and let me go see if I can figure out. Okay, it's been a couple of hours, and as I tried to look at this in a little bit more detail, what the error is, it says checking for Debian image releases, error flashing the board, could not download and extract the image, error downloading the image, bad HTTP status from this URL. Okay, and so what I want to do is I want to try to get this bad HTTPS, and let's just put it in a browser and see what happens, because the thing is that I've got internet, I've got everything connected, I've got websites, I've got, it's just like all the, the internet is working. So let's come up here and let's see if I put a Control V and put that in. What I get is an internal server error, error code 500. So even in a browser, I can't go to this page. And then what it's telling me is it's telling me I have a Cloudflare error. And sometimes that is because, it doesn't like my country of origin, right? Maybe somewhere, maybe Cloudflare has decided that my country of origin is a problem for them. So what I'm going to do is, and first of all, I will say I'm not in Johannesburg to begin with, okay? So now I have connected a VPN. So before I was not on a VPN, I was just straight to the internet. I couldn't get there. So now I have connected to a VPN, And let's see what happens. Now it thinks I'm in Singapore, but it doesn't like Singapore any more than it liked Johannesburg. But believe me, when it was showing me as Johannesburg, I was not on a VPN, I guarantee you. Okay, let's see if we can try something else here. Maybe if we got Italy, wouldn't that be nice? Okay, look at this. Got the good old US of A, so nobody's going to complain about the USA. And so let's run this again. Los Angeles. You're killing me. You're killing me. Okay. So again, I'm really being fair and I'm being honest. Okay. So what I will say is I told you the good and the things I loved, right? We got the Arduino working. We got the Python working. Okay, that was good. And then we came over to the bad that they wouldn't connect to each other. And we're not going to hold this. We're not going to put this in bad. We're just going to call this ugly. But it's kind of unfortunate that this is not, this is the unfortunate thing. Number one, this is the ugly thing. Okay, I'm not going to call it bad. I'm going to call it ugly. I did not ask for an OS update or upgrade or a new OS flash. It decided to do that on its own because, like I say, an hour ago, I'd run through all of these demonstrations of the app lab. And then when I start recording, it decides that I need an upgrade, even though I didn't ask for one. Okay, then I had to go through all of this stuff to get this flasher tool, which was not a nice little button on the app lab, but was a separate download from GitHub that had to be extracted. And then after it was extracted, it had to be run from a command line. And then when you did all that perfectly, it didn't find whatever it was trying to download. Now, my first response is it could very well be that I'm making a mistake or something. But then, let's see. Let me look at it exactly and make sure that I'm not. There's a colon at the end of JSON, but I don't think that's part of the URL. But let's just put that in to just be safe. Okay. So I didn't want to write over the whole thing. Okay, there it is. And then I will put the colon there just because it was in there. See if that makes any difference. Nope. Does not like me. Internal server error. It says my browser is working. It says my downloads, the host is working, but the Cloudflare seems to not be happy with this thing. Okay, so right, I want to be fair, but I got to kind of say that this all right. So maybe I should say the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the bad, and the very, very ugly. That it's like you're forcing me to upgrade. You're giving me no path to back out of the upgrade, and then you're giving me no path to back out of that upgrade, and then it sure looks like I'm doing things right. And maybe I'm just a doofus, and maybe I'm just making a mistake here, but I really followed the instructions very, very carefully. I turned the firewall off. I turned the VPN off. I set the VPN to send me to a part of the country or part of the world that would not have any red flags go up. And it's just like, I'm sitting here sort of stuck. Okay, I'm sitting here sort of stuck. And so what would we do at this point? Because I can't go around the update. I can't download the update. And I'm kind of stuck. Okay, so we had the good, we had the bad. I'm gonna upgrade this one to a bad. And the bad is you're forcing me to use the app lab. And then the app lab is not working. So I'm sitting here brokenhearted. brokenhearted because I can't get this to work. And guys, you know, like I do a lot of stuff, right? I do the, man, you want to see the ugliest one that, you know, so far we've kind of gotten ugly here. You want to see the ugliest one I ever did. This is the NVIDIA Orin AGX. This is like the most monster single board computer on the face of the earth. And trying to get this thing booted up, that was really, really ugly. It took me a month to get this thing booted up. And I actually had the NVIDIA guys that were, you know, giving me personal help because they were wanting me to review it. It took me a month to get this thing booted up. So this Arduino Q is not the worst case so far. It's not the worst case so far. Okay. So I've talked about the good, and I've talked about the bad, and the ugly sort of happened to us in real time. And I swear I didn't like sabotage this. I'm the guy that loves Arduino more than anybody else. And I just, showing you though my frustration, I don't feel like that I should just edit this all out and pretend it didn't happen. Also, I don't think that I should call Arduino or write someone at Arduino to help me because I've got a big audience. It's sort of like I am sitting where you would be if you sort of ended up in this situation. So a little bit disappointed here. So the bad, to me, the really bad thing is, let me open up Python, let me open up Arduino and give me like a really simple little thing. If you don't, you know, just let me do it over the UART. Let me get those two things copying over the UART. And maybe I'm just stupid, but I spent like 2 weeks trying to get that thing to work and I couldn't get it to work. Okay, so just let me do it over UART. But what I would really love would be if on the Python side, inside of PuTTY, inside of Nano, if I could do just like, you know, create Arduino, load the library, create an Arduino object, and then do like an Arduino.push, and I can push something to Arduino, or Arduino.pull, and I would pull something from Arduino. And then over on the other side, you could say, you know, Python.put or Python.get, and I could talk and listen. And over here, I could talk and listen, and I could move things up. That's all I'm asking for, right? That's all I'm asking for, right? I don't have to have the little lights, and I don't have to have the little widgets and gizmos and gadgets and all that. Just let me get these two parts of the board talking to each other. Let's try this again. Just see maybe if we'll get lucky. No. denied. Maybe you can't do it through a browser. Let's try here again. I'll come back to the Flash latest. Denied. Okay, so couple of things. The one bad is you're forcing me to use the app lab, and the app lab isn't working. And so that's okay. We agreed that's ugly, but we won't say bad. The bad part is you're forcing me to use app lab. Okay, that's the bad part. The app lab not working, that we'll say is the ugly. But let me kind of, all right, I wanted to go into the app lab and I wanted to show you some of the demo programs there and stuff, but that looks like it's not going to happen today. Maybe in a few days I can do another revisit of this. But let me tell you one other kind of bad thing on this. So like I get this, and you know, why would we want to use this? First thing we would want to do is put a camera on it. Okay, so the first thing I start looking for is I start looking for the little connector, you know, to connect the little camera. And what I wanted to do for this demo, for this review, I wanted to connect the little Raspberry Pi camera up, and then I wanted to connect this up, and then I got a little servo. And what I wanted to do was have a little OpenCV program that as I was moving a ball around, that this thing would track it and keep it in the center. So show you a demo of the, you know, a demo of kind of like AI on the Q. But then alas, I look at this and I see what? I see no connector. Now there's these two huge connectors back here. I think I just unplugged it. There's these two huge connectors back here, and somehow, some way, probably you would be able to hook the Raspberry Pi camera up to these two connectors back here, but you know, don't know how to do that. And then I looked at the people that did hook up a camera, and they say, oh, you have to use the USB port. Okay. So now I unplug it and I plug the camera in. What's the problem? No power. Okay, so then you could come in, and I guess that you could try to power it through the pins up here, and then you could have the camera hooked here. But I'll be honest with you, I don't have a USB-C camera laying around. And I think most people don't have a USB-C camera laying around. So what I saw one person did is they came out with a USB-C to a USB, like kind of like USB 3. I'm not sure exactly what you would call it, kind of like the normal USB, to a little hub. And then they plugged it into the hub, and then the hub was plugged into power, and then the power went to the USB-C, and then that little hub also would let the camera talk to it. But you're kind of getting kludgy at that point, that if I have to have a USB hub, and then I have to have a wall wart to run that thing, and then I've got a wire here, and then I got a wire there, and then finally I get like a USB camera working. That's a little bit kludgy. Okay, so guys, I really was not anticipating this problem today in the review. And what I was anticipating is of showing you the app lab and the kind of nice things about it, and the things that I could see would maybe be nice for people, and then the things about it that I don't like. What I don't like about it is, like, if I look at the Python program in there, it's like I don't understand it. They introduce these new things like a YAML file, and then they introduce these things as like bricks, and then they give a demo where they have written the YAML file, they've written the Python side, they've written the Arduino side, and then you just click run, and then you've got this beautiful widget that shows up in your browser. Okay, wow, that's impressive. But when I go in and look at the brick that they wrote, it's like, I don't understand it. And then when I go in and look at the Python program, it's like I don't even really completely it's like, am I looking at Python here? And then on the Arduino side, it had some surprises for me. And so what I see is, if you want to go in and just drag and drop bricks, okay, you could do like a little demo. But if you want to go in and if you want to really go in and write a program, it's like, you're going to have to learn the app lab. You're going to have to learn bricks. You're going to have to learn YAMLs, and you're going to have to learn this strange way that these two parts of the board seem to communicate with each other. And then I looked at those web-based, like they have these web-based GUIs, and like there was one that had like a really beautiful graphic of the Arduino, and then you could sit with little slider bars in or little toggle switches in your browser, and you could turn on or off any one of the different pins, and it was like really neat. I was in there really turning things on and off. But then I saw, okay, cool, how did they do that graphic? Well, when I went in to see how they did the graphic, it seemed like it was doing HTML and CSS and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, guys, you don't want to be doing instrumentation and data collection in HTML. You just don't want to do that. So let me kind of show you, right? Let me just sort of show you, let's see if I can show you something here. Let's see here. Give me just a second. I'm just kind of doing this on the fly. But you guys that are working with me on the Arduino Uno R4, some of you guys are working with me on the Arduino Uno R4. And just for kind of comparison, let me sort of show you what I'm doing on the R4, hopefully. Okay, I'm going to have this in just a second. I think this thing fired up quite nicely. Okay, yeah, so let's see if we can come over here, right here. Okay, this is a cool little project that I'm doing on the Arduino R4. You can see that I have a GY87 10-axis IMU sensor here. I have an SSD 1306. And then just on the Arduino side, this is again the R4, this is not the Q. On the R4, I have it connected to an SSD 1306, and hopefully you guys can see this, but I've got sort of an avionics display here. So this is a compass, and you can see as I spin the compass needle always points north, and this is a roll and pitch indicator. You see as I'm rolling and I'm pitching, that is shown. And then this is kind of like an attitude. Are you going up or down? And you see I'm going down towards the ground. I'm going up. And then I get really, really accurate numbers for roll, pitch, and yaw. So that is like really, really cool. But then I'm sending the data over to Linux running Python. And then look at this. This is like graphics that help me on the fly calibrate the sensor. And so if you look at that red as I am spinning that thing, I am making a perfect circle that is calibrating my accelerometers and my magnetometers. And you see I have this visual aid, and I think I just glitched it. I have a visual aid, there it goes. And the more perfect I can draw that circle, the more perfect I'm calibrated. So look at that. And then also over on the Python side, on the Linux side, I have got this kind of heads-up display. Let me turn. I guess this is turning into a R4 review instead of a Q review, right? Let me see. I need to turn that photo off there. I think would be the wise thing to do. Okay, so you see as if you look up here in the upper right, as I roll, okay, the thing rolls. And then if you look down here, as I pitch, I'm pitching up and I'm pitching down. And then if I get out of your way and you look over here, I have a compass that as I turn it, okay, it's showing me which direction I'm going. And then up here, I think this is just really cool up here. This is a graphic that I made of the Earth's magnetic vector. That is the red line, is the Earth's magnetic vector. And then the red, blue, and green is kind of like a coordinate axis of the Earth. And so you see that light blue line is spinning around, but the red line that is moving, that is a representation of the actual Earth's magnetic vector where I am. And you see the vector is not horizontal, it's coming in at an angle. But if I tilt this, I can line up my project exactly with the Earth's magnetic vector. Now, if you look in the lower left, you can see that I have an inclination where I am on the Earth of 29 degrees, okay, because that is where this thing lined up. So I know where I am, the Earth's magnetic field is coming in towards the Earth at 29 degrees. And so this is like big, big fun. And what is it? What is this? This is the Arduino Uno R4 Wi-Fi talking to Linux and Python, and I didn't have to learn anything. I did the Arduino on the Arduino. I did the Linux and Python on the Linux, and then everything I knew, I could just crank this code out, and then I could teach you how to do it as well. But unfortunately, right now, I don't know how to get there. So a lot of you have been asking me for a class on the Q, and that's what I said this was going to be. What am I going to do with the Q? But right now it's just like I'm kind of stuck. Okay, I'm kind of stuck. So this is trying to be fair, and it's trying to be honest. Okay, I want to be fair to all the incredible work that went on at Arduino. And I love Arduino more than anything else. I've had many millions of people take classes from me on the Arduino, but I just can't say right now go out and buy the Q until we get things a little bit more ready for prime time. And I'm going to ask you the hard question. Okay, this is a Pi 0, and then you see the little connector, and I've got the little camera hooked up to it, and I can take this in an hour or two. I can have this doing object detection. I can have it doing pose. I can have it doing face mesh. I can have it do expressions. I can give it hand signals, and it can recognize the gesture recognition. I can do all of that on the Pi because what? I know how to write programs in Python, and I know Linux, okay? And in this case, I'm not really doing things with the Arduino. So this is the hard question we have to ask ourselves. This is the hard but true question. What is it that this board allows me to do that this doesn't? Okay, one thing I guess you could say is that there's a lot more libraries and know-how out there related to these GPIO pins compared to these GPIO pins, but this has been out for 10 years, and so that old thing that you don't have the knowledge base and you don't have the software base, that advantage is eroding. Okay, so I think what we have to do is we have to really think, and we have to say, what is it that would make me want to learn the App Lab and the YAML and the bricks and the, all of that new framework on the Q when I could just do it on the Pi Zero? Okay, maybe I should answer my own question. Why would I do that? I do it because I love the Arduino. Okay, I do it because I love the Arduino. All right, so I'm not saying that I'm not going to make a class on this. Okay, I'm just saying I'm not going to make a class on it right now, and I'm going to say that I'm not going to make a class on it based on the App Lab. Okay, because that's too special. That's too like you're in the stovepipe. Let's say that I taught you everything there was to know about the App Lab, and then you go get a job at Texas Instruments or something, and they don't use Arduino. It's like you're in this proprietary mode that's not going to transfer out necessarily real well to the real world. And so I think the point that I would think about making a class for this would be the point that there was a very seamless way that I could write Python on the Python side, the Linux, Python under Linux on the microprocessor side. And then I could do the Arduino business over on the microcontroller side, and then I could very easily go back and forth without being forced into the App Lab. Okay, so I love Arduino more than any other board, framework. I've always done work on the Arduino, right? I've had millions and millions of people take my classes on the Arduino. I will continue to teach the Arduino. Okay, but before I move from the R4 to the Q, we've got to kind of work through some of this ugliness. Okay, does that sound horrible? I just feel like I just said horrible things. I feel like I said, sorry, I really, it's just like the Arduino is such a big part of my life, and I really, really love it, and I love all the things about it, and I do intend to continue to try to always be the Arduino guy and everything, but right now, I got to wait a little bit before I try to teach how to use this. Okay, man, I kind of got, feel like I got derailed and off track on this, but just watch it for what it's worth. You guys leave comments down below. Maybe you just booted it up. I saw a guy on the Arduino site that was saying, in 3 minutes, I'll have this up and running, and he plugged it in and just everything was working. Not exactly what happened for me. So you guys leave comments down below. Did this thing just boot up for you? Did you run into some of these glitches with the system reflash or upgrade or whatever? Did you run into that sort of thing? Or kind of give me, you guys, I know some of you guys already have it. Let me know what your experience was with it. And then what I want to do, I want to follow up in a few days, and let's see if I can get this thing working. I'll come back and kind of show you the App Lab and the kind of cool little very easy demos it does, and then the things that I'm not like really excited to sort of be forced to work in that, in that framework. Okay, guys, thank you to all the guys that Arduino that have made the world a better place. And I think it was the Arduino that really opened up the world of STEM and high tech and microcontrollers and electronic projects. You know, I think it was sort of the thing that just opened the door and the floodgates. I sort of look at it like, you know, when I was growing up, there was Heathkit, and the Arduino was kind of like the thing that came along after Heathkit that just opened electronics and microcontrollers up to the world. So big thank you to you guys out at Arduino. We love you. We're not going to give up, but we're going to continue to try to plod on through with this. So I think that is way too much talking for me today. I'm going to close this out, and then maybe I'll come back in a few days or a few weeks if I've got something new to show you or some new insights on this. Okay, guys. Love Arduino, love it always love Arduino, and want to thank you guys, my audience, for sticking with me. And hopefully I'll have an update on this in a few days or a few weeks. But at this point, I'll be signing off. Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.